Boom.
All right, guys, we're live. Welcome to this special Wednesday night edition of the Live Well here at Fish North Georgia. We are so glad you guys could tune in. It's the week of the 4th. Tomorrow's the 4th of July, so we decided to hop it up early one day and do it on Wednesday. Got a great show in store for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking with our pal Brooks Anderson, the phenom. Put that thing on here. Look at that. Smile now. You got to smile. There you go. Good looking. Got the hair flow and all that going. Well, we're going to be talking about summertime fishing. Want to get into some deep water kind of tactics. And, of course, wherever your comments lead us, that's where we're going to go. But let's take care of some business first. As always, the best in the business, Trent and the guys over at Sonar Pros. You take your equipment where the pros do. 770-530-4505 by appointment only. And I believe who won that at Smith this weekend?
Taku.
Yep. Guess where he got his boat done? Sonar Pros. So if he can take it there, you should too. And, of course, we got our buddy Kevin Underwood at Lipsticker Fishing. Guys, we see it every single day. He's putting his clients on big spotted bass on Lake Lanier. Check him out at lipstickerfishing.com, or you can find him on his Facebook page. You will not regret it. And then the best rod sleeve, bar none, in the market. I have sold so many of these things here recently. It's crazy. And everybody that gets one comes back and says that thing is absolutely legit. That's Evolve Rod Sleeve from Evolve Fishing. Got them here at Fish North Georgia, or you can check them out at evolvefishing.com. If you're into kayaks, paddle sports, whitewater, whatever, Best of Water Paddle Sports, that's the shop for you. Located off Highway 369 going towards Lake Lanier. Nathan and the guys will set you up regardless of your need. It's a really cool shop. You need to go there and check it out. They got something for everybody there. Best of Water is www.festivewater.com. And again, we talk about it. You know, we're spending all this money on these lures. The Money Saver Lure Retriever. Kevin actually was picking one up before. What was your thoughts on it? You're like, that is a chunk of lead.
You'd have to keep it in the back of the boat or away the front end.
I'm telling you, when it comes to the water, it will knock anything and everything loose. I promise you on this. I've seen it in action. We got them here at Fish North Georgia. Come by and get you one today. And, of course, right over my, is it right shoulder, left shoulder? I can't even tell which one I'm on. Turner Tire in Jasper, Georgia. If you need alignment, tires, anything for your vehicle, family-owned business in Jasper, Georgia, Brock and the guys will set you up just right. 706-253-3339. And I actually was over there earlier last week, got some tires from my wife's car, so always a pleasure doing business. And, of course, we've got Etowah Beer, Meat, and Wine in Dahlonega, Georgia. Actually, that's a couple of people come in the shop the other day, and, of course, they have us set up real nice. I gave them a couple of samples. They'd never had mead before. They thought it was absolutely amazing. Tonight, I am drinking the 1833. This is just a straight beer. They do that, too. If you're in Dahlonega, go check them out. Really cool place. They do trivia on Thursday nights, all kinds of stuff going on, live music. Awesome place. Tell them the guys at Fish North Georgia sent you. So looking at the comment section real quick before we get going. Diaz with Gone Fishing, we appreciate you joining us. As the how-to hero, Tony's there. Clint, of course, he's here. And Luke Turner, what's going on, guys? Now, for Kevin's back of the boat question of the week this week, if you're the winner, all of these jigs right here, this is our Highland series here at True Grit, you're going to win every single one of those. So it is it's roughly 8 or 10. I got to glue that weed guard in.
12.
12? Is it 12 of them total? So if you are the winner tonight, you get those jigs. So I promise you, they're going to work on Lake Lanier or any of these Highland reservoirs. So before we get in there with Brooks, to my right, of course, Mr. Kevin, right there in all his glory there. You're looking great as always. You know.
It's the jeans. What
it's
can
the
I say?
Jeans. It's the jeans. How's the missus doing?
She's absolutely fantastic.
Well, I'm sure she is.
Makes me look good.
She does do that right there. And behind the scenes back there, our friend in law enforcement, Mr. Tim McGuire, the Cedartown Police Department. Did I say that right?
You did. You did good.
That's it. So, hey, he's giving you fishing knowledge, and he's protecting you guys out there on the beat. So appreciate these two guys. And now let's go back to the handsome guy here today with the flying locks and all that. So Mr. Brooks Anderson. So how you been, man?
Been doing great.
You've been doing good.
Absolutely.
I asked him before he got here, how's the guide business? So tell everybody how guiding is.
Yeah, it's been absolutely phenomenal to spend that much time on the water. 3 to 4 days a week, really meeting a lot of great people and just kind of giving them light bulb moments out on the water where they've been so close on a lot of techniques or just maybe not understanding something with the live scope or the mapping and location, just giving them that one piece of the puzzle that's kind of almost made fishing fun for them again, where they want to go out to the lake and figure it out themselves. a lot of young kids, some older guys. It's been a pleasure all around though.
That's good. And I see your pictures. You're putting them on fish. So
Absolutely.
You're doing an absolutely fantastic job. But the good thing about what you were saying is given that little detail, we talked about it before the show, that little detail, that little piece of advice, like you said, to just make, I never knew that.
Right.
I was just that close, but it's that one little nugget that makes it different.
Right. And every trip is a little bit different where some clients want specifics on techniques or locations or retrieves. But my kind of overarching theme for every guide trip is I want to give that person something they can use day in and day out once this trip is over. So
yeah,
just because we call them today, I want it to be kind of a fruit of wealth, I guess, and where they can take it and see how it works for themselves and find their own fish and kind of pattern them based on what we did for that one day.
Yeah. And I tell you what, and this goes with all the guides, and I'm closer to a couple of them than I am others, but like, Kevin Underwood, real good with him. I was like, if you give them that experience, just like what you're talking about, that's a repeat customer too. They'll come back, you gain that trust and all that and have a good time. So guys, what we're going to do tonight, again, like I said, we're going to talk about, of course, summertime. It is blistering hot here in North Georgia. A lot of different ways to catch the fish right now. You talk to one guy, he's still throwing top water. You talk to another one. What? Make sure to like this video. Oh, not the naked pooper. Yeah, the naked pooper is back. He is back right there. But there's a lot of different ways.
There he is.
Right there he is. We need to get you a shirt. Just of an old man. Like on a semi truck, they got the woman in the back, just the silhouette of the woman with the it's kind of chesty. We need to get one of you made. I bet we could sell that sticker.
You think we could? I'm game.
Okay, we'll do it. Well, that's what we're going to do. So, but there's a lot of different ways to catch fish right now. And what I mentioned to Brooks is I want to talk kind of that deep finesse game a little bit. Of course, we'll go wherever your guys' questions lead us. So if you have something, you want to know something about summertime bass fishing right now, especially for spotted bass on Lake Lanier, Allatoona, any of these reservoirs, make sure you put it in the comment section so that we definitely can take care of that tonight. So let's talk about that a little bit. Lake Lanier is known from late spring through the summer and even in the fall, topwater. And everybody's throwing topwater. What kind of topwater bite have we had so far this year?
So we've had a pretty, I guess you say on average, a little bit better maybe in that June this year. It's been a phenomenal topwater bite on certain times of the day. I've seen more bite windows this year than previous years where you could go out there and throw it from 7 a.m. to dark and catch them all day long. It's kind of been more sporadic where you'll get a 30 or 45 minute window where you can run almost lake wide, whether that's they're pulling water or those fish are just kind of in a feeding mentality. But it's definitely been good. I am seeing it slowly kind of taper off with those warmer temperatures we touched on sooner. And once that water gets a little bit higher, it's about 84, 85 right now, about midday. So once they get a little bit higher, you're definitely going to see it go down a little bit more, where it just kind of plays into schooling fish and some really specific brush in some areas. But it's been really strong, and it probably will be for about another week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at most. But those fish are going to kind of start relating more to the thermocline as those temperatures continue to rise, and it's going to get real specific in what zone you'll be able to kind of catch them in. So
just out of curiosity, what baits have produced better on top this year than others?
So I've definitely been leaning towards some bigger walking baits when I do have some clouds or some wind. Throwing the OG a little bit, that's one that kind of works. It's kind of a situational bait for me when you do have those low light, high winds, phenomenal topwater. Bigger chrome style walking baits, the tackle, the little stick, all that stuff. Those have been really good. And then definitely the other category we've seen a lot is the chugging style baits. And there's a lot with the Spro and the chug bug and all that. Each one kind of has their own strength and little nuances with it. But those have been the two predominant categories I've been focusing on.
Okay, so what makes you choose one of those over the other, whether you're throwing the chugging style or the
right? So it's pretty much almost 100% conditional based, in the sense that if it's a little bit calmer, I'm going to kind of lean towards those chugging style baits and try to displace a lot of water. But once you do have a good chop on the lake, it's kind of a pain to get that bait to work properly through some of those waves and wind and just casting that bait. So that's when I will transition to some of those have earplugs and things I can actually kind of zip into the wind and keep it working properly through waves and things like that.
Gotcha. So Kevin Underwood is here today, and he says, "What's up, fellas? Hey, Brooks, congrats on the success." And that's the cool thing about Kevin is like he's one of those rising tide.
Yeah.
Rises. I mean, he's like that. He's genuine in when he says that. So Kevin, we love you here, dude. You know that. And I honestly he likes that. He likes seeing you young guys succeed.
And every time he sees me, he's always super nice, and we talk for a couple of minutes, and it's always nothing but positive stuff.
Yeah,
so
he is. I got to get his ass a new hat though. He's got the ugly old hat.
Are we talking about hats?
Yes, we're talking about hats. They're coming. They're coming. I promise.
This year?
This year, maybe even this month. I don't know. I'm gonna get you a hat.
I doubt it.
You doubt it? He's giving me a hard time. These hats ain't showing up. Do you ever throw any other top water like a buzz bait or anything like that? Or are you mostly concentrating on the offshore stuff?
Yeah, I would love to take a day and fish some prim beds and stuff out here because I know that bite is definitely going on and probably pretty untapped compared to most of the offshore fishing.
Right.
And definitely the buzz toad style baits and some of the smaller prop baits.
Do you like that better than the skirted buzz bait? You like the toad style?
I do personally like the toad. I think they kind of get that profile a little bit better, but also like throwing just solely the toad a lot too. Without any.
Ryan always liked that. The horny toad king, ain't that right? That's what Ryan.
Oh yeah.
The self-appointed horny. He was good at it though, and that is actually one bait that's pretty fun when they actually do blow up.
Oh, they get it.
The strikes are amazing.
Definitely.
But now, are you one of those that are you good at waiting, letting them get in their mouth just a little bit before you set the hook?
So, like growing up fishing out here with Topwaters, Flukes, pretty much anything across the board out here, these fish are going to miss it multiple times before one locks it up.
Yeah.
And I've kind of translated that into like frog, buzzbait fishing. It's like, I don't care what it looks like or what happened until I feel weight. And that's the same thing I tell all my clients is like, I don't care if that's the biggest spotted bass you've seen in your life, roll over that top water or blow the fluke out of the water, hit the swim bait, and just keep that bait going at that exact speed and cadence that you were doing. Because if you stop it and you're like, oh my gosh, and then they all just kind of scatter from there.
Then if you set the hook too soon.
Yeah. But it's a little trickier with largemouth than when you're like a specific fish and you mess it up. It's not like we get another shot.
Right. But, I agree. Now, I got a question about the toad. Do you use a weight on your hook? What kind of hook do you use with your toad?
Yeah, so it's a single EWG style hook, and it's usually without a weight on that, and I'll throw it on straight braid. So
you don't use like the screw-in kind?
It is.
It is a screw-in. Okay, that's
it's a little bit different than just a standard EWG. It's kind of it's like a hybrid bend between a flipping hook and the EWG. So it's still that hook point's still above that line tie, so you still get like really good penetration, but it's a good hook for sure.
Now, you said straight braid.
Mm-hmm.
What pound test are you throwing that on?
So a lot of my top waters, I've actually, as far as open water fishing go, I've kind of stepped down to 40 pound. It's just a little bit easier to cast, you get a little more distance. And if you are fishing matted vegetation or around some wood and some bushes and things like that, definitely that 50, 60 pound is needed at times. But as far as like lakes around here where you're just kind of making roll casts under trees, around docks, things like that, I think that 40 pound gives you a little bit better edge for sure.
Okay. So Joshua Goad, we are here. What prop bait? Did you mention the prop bait?
I did.
Okay.
PH Custom has one. There's one on Tackle Warehouse called, I believe it's Brian's prop bait. It's a balsa style one. It's about $22-$25. It's a really good one for sure.
What about a color?
It's just whatever brim pattern.
Whatever brim pattern.
I don't get to.
I know.
Throwing a fluke at all this year?
A fluke? Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, he says. Oh yeah. Listen, a fluke is amazing.
He didn't mention that when he was talking about his top waters. I was wondering.
No, he didn't. But we talked about that. We were talking about that before the show a little bit too.
Yeah.
You said the fluke bite's been pretty good this year, though.
The fluke bite has been really above par in my opinion, and he's
so mature. It's been above par.
Yeah. I mean,
how old are you again?
22.
22.
Plays a lot of golf.
You know, my wife asked if you were single.
Yeah, you asked me that too.
Yeah, I do. I got a daughter. She's a couple years older. She got a great job though.
Yeah.
She makes the jack. She's a nurse, so we're gonna keep that out there. You got my stamp of approval. I'm just letting you know. But no, seriously, go back to the flukes.
Yeah, so the fluke has been definitely more consistent day in and day out this year. Where even throughout calm, windy, cloudy conditions, it's still that bait that I want to throw in there first, just to have the most high percentage hookup. Where a lot of times you can't throw that topwater or join a swim bait, what have you, and they'll follow it, chase it, and then at that time they're all at the boat, and it's kind of game over. So that fluke is cool because you can almost stall that bait and manipulate your retrieve throughout the cast and kind of match the activity level of those fish. Whereas a lot of those other baits have just a continuous speed, and it's either a situation where they're going to eat it or not. So the fluke is definitely one of my favorites out there.
I got you. So Johnny November. That's a heck of a name. I like it right there, Johnny November. Hey, what was that cartoon back in the 2000s or something? Johnny, you guys know what
Johnny Quest?
Is it Johnny Quest? He had the really funky hair goes up.
It was Johnny Quest.
Johnny Bravo with
Johnny
the hair.
Bravo.
Yeah, he had that big hair stood up. Johnny Bravo.
My kids watched Johnny Bravo. Who the hell is Johnny Quest?
It might have been before 2000. It was.
That was it black and white?
No, hell no.
Johnny Bravo.
Where's my hat?
Oh, where's your hat? Let's have it.
It's on your head.
Have you appreciate you joining us tonight, Johnny?
Thanks, Tim.
Have you fished Lake Chatuge? What baits are good for smallmouth bass in mountain lakes?
So I have fished Chatuge a good bit throughout high school for our tournaments.
Yeah.
I fished it a few times in the warmer months, and then I think 2 or 3 times as well in the colder months. Definitely not the man up there, but it's almost identical to Lanier in the sense those fish are herring eaters, and you can throw a lot of the same stuff we will be talking about tonight out there.
What about smallmouth? If you were going to, it's kind of, is there enough in there to target them?
No, there used to be a lot of really good smallmouth in there, but over I couldn't tell you recent years, but in the last Sonar period, there hasn't been hardly any. And I'm sure there might be a few in there, but definitely not something you could go out there and even try to really catch.
It seems like Kaz Anderson guides up there. We're a great friend of the show. It seems like a couple times a year he'll have a trip out there where he gets on them, but it's not consistent. I don't see him catching a bunch of them.
He's going to a couple of different lakes, I believe. I don't really even know the names, but the spots or the smallmouth on Chatuge aren't something you can really
right. Yeah, I got you. Haven't seen a smallie out there since 2019, says Clint Bartlett.
Yeah.
So it's not so Johnny, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I know that 20 years ago you could go up to Blue Ridge here and just take a white curly tail grub about 2 inches, 3 inches, put it on a ball head jig and just slow reel it and catch all the smallmouth you want, but not anymore. I actually did see a 5-pounder though got brought out there in a tournament this year, but it's like a unicorn now.
Chatuge?
No, I was on Blue Ridge. I was talking about Blue Ridge.
No, that is
Chatuge, yeah. That'd been a monster.
That's a big one.
That's a big one anywhere for Georgia. And he also says check out Fontana, so that or Hiawassee. So I think those lakes, kind of like what you said, are a little more known. Got a better smallmouth. KJ says Lake Okeechobee was on fire today. Caught some good fish today on Berkeley frogs. That's your stomping grounds there.
It is
Okeechobee. Now Kevin's a little upset though about Lake Okeechobee and
I can't tell you
Bassmaster.
why.
And Bassmaster?
I can't tell you why yet.
I got to wait till after the question.
You got to wait.
So I'm glad you said that. So we'll talk about that later. It has something to do with the question of the week and you winning these True Grit jigs. So you guys hang tight. Matt O. Fishing. Tell Brooks I'm sorry for cutting him off today at the island at the mouth of Shoal today. So O'Connell cut you off?
No, I was just kind of talking to some clients who are island towards the area, and he pulled up there fishing it. It was nothing, but everything on Lake Masters community nowadays. So it's nothing to get out of shade. There's 100 more spots like it. So
there you go. We'll tell Matt better straighten up or we'll cut his hair. He got them beautiful locks going on too. So Johnny November's, I fished a tournament in June and only caught smallmouth, but it seemed it was tough between my partner and I. We caught 6, no largemouth, unfortunately. So he must have just been in one of those locations just where those few smallmouth were congregated. So that's pretty cool. But true, don't hear a lot of people talking about them anymore.
I'm obviously not super dialed in with Chatuge and what's going on, but what I do know is the techniques I use back here definitely apply
for the spots in the largemouth.
But as far as like really knowing what the smallmouth are doing, all I know is there's not too many.
That's Neil Scoggins late to the party tonight. Well, hey, we appreciate you coming. Wednesday night I figured we'd throw some people off. KJ, this question for Kevin.
Toho.
Which is your favorite lake, Toho or Cypress?
Toho.
Toho, and why?
I think it has bigger fish. You won't catch the multiple fish there, but you'll catch bigger fish. Kissimmee's multiple.
So you're not going out there and catching a bunch of little ones. What you catch is going to be quality.
Quality in Toho. I would go over Hatch and Hallville before I went to Cypress.
Hatch and Hall?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know the name. I don't even know
It's
these
4 lakes.
4 lakes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there you go, KJ.
Toho, Cypress, Hatch and Hall, and Kissimmee.
So I assume, KJ, you're watching from Florida, I would assume, since he fished Okeechobee today. Do you live in Florida, or are you just down there visiting? I'd like to know that. Neil Scoggins, what happened to my nickname, Danny? Listen, ever since COVID, you know how my memory is. I done forgot. Remind me of what your nickname is. I know I gave you one. So pop that in the comment section again right there. On your Fluke, how do you rig it? You nose hook it, or you running a Texas rig? We've probably talked about this before, but
yeah,
how do you do it?
I just do a 4-aught worm hook.
Just a 4-aught worm hook?
There's sometimes where I'll do, like, I'll put a cover shot owner hook, and I'll actually run it through the back, and I'll kind of have an open exposed hook. I've played around with the nose rigging, and you throw them off a lot if you don't have the owner CPS spring that you put in the head and put the circle hook through it. But then once you do that, the Fluke doesn't
have
anything. So the nose rigging is kind of out of the door for me, and it's either going to be one of those other 2 options.
Okay. Do you use like a visiting fish Lanier and Burton on top? I thought, KJ. Okay, I thought that. I just wanted to make sure. Oh yeah, Caddyshack. Yeah, you're Caddyshack, Neil Scoggins. I remember that now. Caddyshack. Do you use a swivel or anything? I know a lot of guys use a swivel just to kind of keep the nose down a little bit on the Fluke.
So the swivel does 2 things. It adds the weight and also eliminates the line twist.
Yep.
But I don't.
You don't use it at all? You throw it on a spinning rod or a bait caster?
I do about 90% on spinner rod.
What's your setup as far as line goes?
So I'm running 10-pound braid to 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. I'll do about 6 to 10 foot fluorocarbon leader.
Okay. All right, Josh Bowling. Appreciate you joining us tonight there, Josh. What type of rig is best this time of year in Lake Lanier with the heat? Now, depending on how you're fishing, what's the best rig?
So
just some suggestions for them.
I wouldn't necessarily say there's a best rig. I would say the best thing for you to do is to take the conditions you have and kind of understand what you're dealing with. If you got a calm day, you may not be able to, catch them all on Topwater. You may have to get some baits that are subsurface and get down that water calm. And then if you do have some wind or some things rolling, definitely a Jonah swim bait like a Subsurface or something like that. Still working really well. Topwater, like we talked about, and definitely just trying some more subsurface, maybe a drop shot, something like that. So those fish are really kind of lethargic.
Yeah. So, it really got to let the fish kind of dictate.
Yeah. I'd love just to be like, all right, yep, that's one bait right now. But it's kind of one of those things that even on trips, tournaments, whatever I'm doing, like I'll kind of run 5 to 10 holes and gauge those fish and kind of be like, all right, this might be the bait for today. And then a lot of the times it even changes multiple times throughout the day.
Oh, I bet. Absolutely.
Just definitely being versatile.
So excuse me. So what I would suggest, Josh, is kind of like whatever your strength is. If it's Topwater, give that a shot and try it, and then just see if the fish are reacting to it. Or you can just do like me and always throw a weightless wacky rig. It's good everywhere. You throw a wacky, listen, a weightless wacky rig. Look at him smiling. It's good everywhere.
You're not wrong.
I am not
at
wrong.
all.
You can't go wrong with that bait. It is like almost stupid proof. That's why I throw it. Gone fishing.
Makes sense.
I knew that was coming from you because I saw out of the corner of my eye you shaking your head over there. Yeah, you're getting to be like you're my dad.
If the shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah, you're getting to seriously, you're getting to be like a father figure to me. Like every time I say something, you're sitting over there going, dumbass.
It's okay, son.
It's okay, son. So when cranking along the shoreline, should I focus on parallel cast for better contact with structure like rocks?
Yeah. So
are you doing any cranking whatsoever right now?
Not right now.
Yeah.
You can probably do it at night and be pretty successful, similar to like a night blade or something, vibration, some deflection. I could definitely see that working right now. But other seasons in Lanier, I definitely love to utilize the crankbait and definitely getting parallel to those banks and kind of keeping that bait in that strike zone for a longer time is something you want to do, unless you have like a designated target per se, like some boulders or something where you want that bait to come straight down the side or you kind of have a waypoint where your intended cast is. But as far as covering water, definitely kind of paralleling it or even coming at it kind of at a 90-degree angle, just so you keep contact.
Almost like a 45 sometimes.
Yep.
Now, question for me. You mentioned a specific, like a boulder.
Right.
How do you approach that? You know, what dictates the way your boat approaches something like that?
Right. So for a Lanier example, there's a lot of rock veins you can see, and then there's another set of them that you actually like can't visually see, but they still kind of run off the bank. So now it's a little bit easier with live scope, and you can kind of pan around and get that angle where you can get that crankbait to come down the side or go inside the trough or do something of that nature. Whereas back in the day, you kind of just looked at the bank and kind of figured out where it was coming out. Now you can really pinpoint those casts.
Say if we got a little bit of wind, does the wind dictate which side you approach it from?
Yeah. So it sounds crazy, but I usually like my bait throwing into the wind because that does a couple of things for me. If I'm with the wind, I'm going to be blowing over those fish extremely fast, and it's a lot harder to throw into the wind, but you kind of have a lot more control with your bait and what it's doing if you are throwing into it.
Into the wind. Okay. All right, good stuff. Cliff says, good to see Brooks again. Good kid that knows this stuff. Very smart young man. Absolutely. And that's why, I never hesitate to bring him on because I know he knows his stuff. Ralph Young wants to know, what is your rod and reel setup for the Fluke? We know it's a spinning reel.
Yeah. So I have one setup, and that's going to be a NRX 872. That's going to be a 7.3 medium fast action rod, and then I'm going to pair that with a 3,000 size Shimano reel. That's either going to be a Stratic or Sustain or Twin Power. Anything in that class will be just budging on your price range and what you want to spend and get. Those are some really good equipment for sure.
What kind of braid do you use? What brand?
So I use Suffix 832. That's my go-to braid. And I've been hearing a lot of positive things about some cast braid and stuff.
Dude, I'm telling you.
But I haven't really pulled the trigger on it. But I'm definitely, after hearing everything, it sounds like it's pretty legit. So I may have to give it a shot.
That cast braid. Now Ryan he was very nice. He sent me a spool to my house after I was talking about it.
I had to pay for mine.
Yeah, I got it free, baby.
Thank you.
That's right,
son.
But I will tell you, that is the only thing I've ever put line-wise casted and went, oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's what's kind of appealing to me.
Dude, and I'm not the experienced one like you. For somebody like me to go, wow, you guys would know the nuances of it. But honest to goodness, and I'm going to put it on that new arc reel that Paul Benson was gracious enough to drop off by the shop.
Would you promise him a hat or what?
No. He just gave it to me. But listen, y'all notice a pattern? It's legit. It is the most legit. Now, but I do agree that Suffix is really good too. That's a very good quality braid.
That's a braid that's almost tried and true for me. I've been throwing it for 7-8 years, and I mean, I'll get wind knots every now and then, but that line is so supple and limp, and as day in and day out, it's a phenomenal braid. But that cast braid, everyone's like, I'm getting 20% or so extra a cast.
You are, dude.
And there's a lot of times where I'm throwing these fish and I short them by that exact distance. It's something I want to definitely play around with.
So let's do this. So Ryan Hanks, if you're watching this, or anybody that knows Ryan, Clint Bartlett, let's get a spool of that cast braid in this young man's hand, because that would be a very good spokesman for you going down the road. Just to let you try it. I'll tell you, you will go. And guys, listen, Ryan's a good buddy of mine, but I'm not lying. I'm being very legit. If it sucked, I'd tell you it sucked.
I don't think they have a 10-pound. They've got a 12.
I got the 12.
That'd be fine. Yeah.
So he sent me the 12, and I can't wait to use it. So Clint Bartlett, own it. Let's get this man some casts. And the rest of you guys, seriously, I'm gonna tell you, be honest, it's not the cheapest. It's not the cheapest braid, but the quality of the cast and everything, you will absolutely love it. So
they have a special running right now too.
They have a special going right now, so absolutely check them out. Go to their website. I'm gonna get some in the store eventually. Will Junkin, good evening, fellas. Good to see you. Last time I saw him, he didn't have a beard. He walked in the other day. I didn't even recognize him. He doesn't grow out that big Duck Dynasty kind of beard. Good looking thing though. So appreciate you coming and seeing us. RB Mulhern. I hope I said that right. What about some Clark's Hill juice going on right now? I had a gentleman in here in the shop 2 days ago. And he's actually going to set me up with Hank Parker to get Hank Parker on the show. I didn't tell you that. Somebody your age. I just wanted you to feel comfortable.
Good.
Yeah, so Hank Parker, we're working on Hank Parker. getting him on here. But anyway, he's good friends with Hank Parker. He actually fishes Clark's Hill. He said that right now on the north end, I believe, is where he fished mostly. And it's pretty much he was talking about shaky heads. He was talking about throwing actually he was talking about throwing an old monster, not weightless, but almost weightless, because apparently there's some kind of reed grass up there or something like that. But he was talking about throwing big old monsters in that grass and pulling it through and catching some good fish. That's about all the juice I got, but I know we did have a conversation about Clark's Hill. And I did tell him I wanted him to come on the podcast here in the near future when we get back from my cast, so we can actually do a show on Clark's Hill, because that's a lake we don't cover near enough nor know enough about. David Weaver, back to you, Brooks. On the Fluke, are you weightless or weighted, and do you use a swivel? Now, we covered that a little bit, but go ahead, since he probably didn't hear that part.
Yeah, so no swivel, but I do throw it weighted and weightless. Just kind of dictates on the day. If they're higher up in the water, I'll throw weightless. If they're a little bit further down, I need that bait to get to them, I will add some weight.
So when you add weight, do you add it with the hook, or do you add it how do you add your weight to your Fluke?
Yeah, I have a couple of things I do with the hook. I'm gonna keep secret.
Yeah, I got
and
you.
then I do have some other things I kind of insert in the bait and do. So
okay, so I know some guys put some nail weights in there.
Yeah,
and stuff,
everyone has their own kind of way to do it. I've kind of mastered a craft in a certain way of doing it, and it's definitely something that a lot of people don't do.
Yeah,
it's pretty special.
We do have a video that we recorded with Rob Robleski, and it's going to be coming out on the channel very soon, where he shows how he does his Fluke that involves a treble hook and a nail weight. So it's kind of interesting, and we're going to put that out, and it's a really cool way to do the Fluke. Johnny wants to know, what is your favorite part to fish in Lake Lanier?
So if it's area of the lake, definitely the south end.
Yeah.
So what I consider the south end of Lanier is going to be from Browns Bridge or that Poreal area down to the Beaufort Dam. That's the area I've kind of dedicated all my time to in the past few years, and it's been really incredible.
Yeah, do you ever go up north any at all?
So as a kid, actually, never went below Browns Bridge, and all my high school tournaments and stuff stayed up in Wahoo Creek and that Little Hall area, and that was just my wheelhouse. And then I started noticing all these like 17 to 19 pound bags, which back then those were like the oohs and the ahs, and I was like, man, like I'm just not seeing that quality of fish. And then so I kind of transitioned all my efforts down there, and I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah,
this is
it. What do you think is the reasoning for that?
Just it's really the habitat, in my opinion. There's obviously a lot more herring, larger herring, and a bigger population of them on that south end.
Yeah,
have a lot of deeper water with that timber, and just kind of creates an atmosphere where those spots can grow to that giant size. And the north end definitely has some big spots as well. They're just a little more sporadic. I'd say like above Browns Bridge, a 3 3/4 to a 4 pounder is a huge one.
Yes,
there's a lot of 2.5 to 3 pounders to be caught from Browns Bridge to just say that Gainesville area. There's just not that true giant herring and that just immediate deep water to a lot of these areas as that south end provides.
Yeah, I agree with that. Fishing the north end seems like the numbers of spots are there, but you're right. The average per fish is definitely, it's definitely not the size. You'll go through 50 of those to get to a 4 pounder up. I mean, it's something like that.
Definitely.
So Clint was back on the cast, a 300 meter spool. So 328 yards for $60. Definitely a premium, but I've had the same braid on my reel since 2021 going strong. So again, I can't wait to get on the water with it on one of mine. I was actually throwing my cousin's. Jonathan Carter, what line do you throw a chug bug on? Which that's an interesting question. Now, because you mentioned earlier, your Topwater, you go straight braid.
Right. So
even with a chug bug.
Yeah, I'll touch on this. This is something that's pretty important. So on my walking style baits, bigger Topwaters, it's still that 40-pound braid we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
And I do a couple things with the Topwaters, like put 2X strong hooks with that braid just to kind of compensate the no stretch and all that. And I'll play those fish a lot softer than I normally would. But as the chug bug goes and other chugging style baits, that's going to be strictly a mono thing for me. Just because we're pulling that bait so much. If you do have braid, it will tend to foul up and wrap and get in the hooks almost immediately. But you can also take a braid and do a short, like 1 foot mono leader. But I don't like the braid at all when it comes to the chugging style. But 12-pound Berkeley big game would be 12 or 15 would be.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Just it's tried and true. You'll lose a few just because you didn't get the best hook in them, but just for performance and consistency, that's the end all be all for a chug bug.
That big game's a good line.
Won't break.
That
It
big
will. You
game,
can pull
I'm
a boat with
serious. Yeah, that's like, and it's cheap.
Very cheap.
And Will Harkins won $100,000 on it.
Yeah, he did.
So, but that was my question I was getting there to ask you, because that's one of the things with throwing braid on these topwater baits. A lot of times is getting that foul.
Right. And with the bigger style walking baits, you have so much momentum and weight when that bait is being thrown. It'll foul up once a couple times, but it's not something you're dealing with like every other cast. Where if you're sitting there trying to pull that bait and get that bait to spray water and everything, it's going to be tripping and catching that line a lot. So
that makes sense. So Johnny November says Wahoo Creek is where I used to fish a lot, but it's died out. Not many fish in there anymore. Is that considered north or south?
No, Wahoo would be very north. So that's
very north. That's right. That's right. I couldn't
so that's
remember.
almost
Yes.
up there at Laurel.
Yeah. So that's not somewhere that I would take off. Laurel, it's got a great boat ramp. That's all I got to say about Laurel up there.
There's a lot of fish released in there.
There's a lot of. I wonder though. I wish, and I know we've talked about this before. I would love for them to tag after a big tournament, just see how many of those fish. Like if the angler would write down, if there was a way to tag it, say it was caught on the south, take it up, they release it up there, and if they had a little telemeter or whatever the hell they is, where they could track it. I just wonder how many of those fish actually do make it back down to the south into the lake. I bet you a few of them would.
I bet a lot do.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of studies up north of smallmouth, and they'll catch them one day. And
smallmouth will travel further though.
Yeah, they will. I'm just saying. I'm not saying they spot to that extent. I'm saying I'm sure it'd be surprising.
But it would be interesting, wouldn't it? Just to see.
How many miles do you think it is from Laurel down to the dam?
It's about 35-ish, like straight shot. So I mean, it's not something I think they can do like overnight.
Oh, definitely not overnight. No.
Yeah. But I'd probably say they could move a couple miles and faster you'd think they would.
Yeah, no, it would be interesting. They might actually end up, kind of like in that mid-lake area. I'm sure. But there are a few that stay up there, and kind of like Dane Hunter says down there, glad to see you, Dane. Another one of our fine public servants right there. I bet more fish are released at Little Hall than Laurel Park. I would absolutely say so, because there's probably a lot more tournaments go out of there.
Probably so.
For Brooks, what's your selection process for fishing brush piles in 20 foot of water or so? So let's start off with this. When you say selection process, you going up and dropping your live scope or doing that. First of all, how do you determine whether you're going to fish it? Because you're kind of in a tournament situation, you're a running gunner.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've talked to Emil and others about this. You pull up the known brush pile, you drop it. What are you looking for first?
I'm looking for fish. That's solely.
Just solely.
And that could mean fish on the pile or just fish out there floating in the area. I don't care where they are. I just want to see a presence when I do pull up.
Right.
But as far as picking the location, that's going to be all time of year based. And I'm going to fish a lot shallower piles that are kind of adjacent to some of those herring spawn and spawning areas, a little bit further back in the creeks and the secondary points, and just those really kind of shallower main lake points. And then as those temperatures increase, I'm really looking for piles with a hard break right next to them. So if I'm fishing a hump right now, I want the pile maybe in 20, but if you keep panning over there or look on your Lake Master Navonics, it's adjacent to 60, 70, 80 feet of water where those fish can pull off to. And that's a big thing people miss, is they'll continue to fish the same locations all summer, but you can still catch them in the same depth range. You just have to be a little more precise with which piles you are targeting. So,
yeah. For somebody that doesn't know or kind of understand what you're saying with the break, why is that important?
So obviously we'll have the Thermocline, but those fish, they relate to that deeper water a lot, and they want to have the option to be able to immediately slide out to, say, the timber, or just go suspend out there and pull up to a hump per se to feed, and not feel like they're kind of trapped in an area where, as if a shallower brush pile in a creek, it's not that there won't be fish there. It's just one's not going to be willing to travel all the way that backtrack and just sit there in that warmer water where they could have that access to all the bait and everything they need in that cooler water at this time of year.
Now, do you find that if you find a brush pile like that with that feature, do you tend to get the larger, older fish? You know what I'm saying on that? Because they're smart enough to know, hey, I got this. And maybe the younger, dumb ones are the ones up in the creek. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into like catching the biggest fish out of a pile at times.
Yeah.
And A lot of the times, it's not luck of the draw. It's just a matter of which one really commits to that bait. But there are definitely things you can put in your favor to kind of target some of those bigger ones for sure.
Okay. So Kevin, Lake Toho, north part of the lake has thick hydrilla, and that's his favorite part of the lake to punch with 1.5 ounces. Did you ever do any punching out there when you were down there?
Oh, you had to do a lot of flipping.
You had
there.
to.
You had to, yeah. The hydrilla was thick. I would try. I'd recommend North Steer Beach, Whaley's Landing, and the backside of Makeson Island if it still has grass on it. It's been about 15 years since I've been on Toho, but I still remember the areas really well.
Well, it must have been good then.
They're good areas.
And that's I mean, we're talking pure largemouth down there, right?
I got 4 over 10 out of that lake.
Really?
No live bait, all artificial.
All artificial. Ain't that something? The grass in Clark's Hill is water willow. Okay, yeah. So that was what he was talking about. I knew it was something. And now David Weaver you got your questions tonight are great. You guys keep them coming because it makes my job so much easier. Do you think that the wind changing direction every day, like north one day and then east the next day, affects the fish?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. And what are some of the things you see with the change in wind as far as the fish behavior?
So when I'm fishing in the wind, they're a lot more apt to bite just because they're not getting as good look at my bait, and there's a lot of other commotion going on. So you have a lot more odds in your favor where your transducer noise, your boat presence, all that is kind of muted in a sense that you do have that wind kind of hiding you, and those fish are a lot higher in the water a lot of times feeding when those conditions are around. And if you have an area where the wind has been blowing on, say, the east side or west side of the lake, those fish will bite a lot better than the side that is, like, honestly protected. So definitely chasing the wind when you do have it. And even if that means just a slight ripple on the water compared to just flat calm, that can make all the difference in the world out here.
Okay, well, let me throw this in at you.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime, good Lord, we know how the boat traffic is.
Yeah.
But boat traffic does churn up the water.
Yep.
So can you use boat traffic to your advantage right now?
Absolutely.
All right, maybe tell somebody how you might be able to do that.
Yeah, so Kevin Underwood had a post the other day, and he called it the dishwasher effect.
Yep.
When all the boats were running around, I thought that was a perfect description, like what those fish are feeling. And it makes them bite in a lot of senses, but it actually can hurt them in a lot of ways too. So when you do have a lot of boat pressure and things like that, those fish are going to get a lot tighter to those brush piles and kind of relate to the bottom a little bit more. It doesn't mean you can't catch them. It's just if you have 2 giant wakeboard boats run over your brush pile, I'm not saying it's not impossible, but you're not going to be able to throw your Topwater or your Fluke immediately behind them and call those fish up through that.
Right.
But it can kind of scatter the schools to where there are smaller wolf packs around that area that are easier to catch, and some kind of subsurface techniques become a lot more productive when those fish really congregate with all the boat pressure around.
Yeah. So do you think it's more uncomfortable just for the angler than it is the fish, though, at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's
I mean, if we're being honest.
No, it's a hassle. I mean, it's not fun moving spots, fishing them, getting cut off. I mean, it's all day, just curveballs when you're out there on the weekend. But it can be worth it. It's not my favorite thing to do, but if I have to do it for a tournament or something, I definitely try to get as many positives out of it as I can.
Yeah, 100%. DA, appreciate you joining us tonight. Hey, Brooks, how can we target largemouth on Lanier this time of year?
Yeah, that's my roommate Dylan.
DA.
And I would definitely focus on brim beds right now. You can catch largemouth on the Topwaters and Flukes. It's just 90% of the time those spots are going to beat those largemouth to it. But if you wanted to catch them, kind of what we touched on earlier, some of the prop baits, horny toads, wacky worms, things like that, really kind of find where the bluegill are, and you'll find
can you flip docks and stuff for them, like throwing that horny toad up under a dock and bringing it out? Yeah, Ryan always liked doing that. And again, this time of year, that's what he was doing. He had his trolling motor on 8 or 10. He was just hitting docks going down.
Yep.
And if you ever saw and I tell you what, it would surprise you. You can look in the back of a creek sometimes, and it looks like 2 foot of water, and you don't see nothing. You'd be surprised at how many times that horny toad went back there, and all of a sudden the water would explode.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just looking at it looks like a mud pit back there.
Yeah.
It works. It works. David wants to know, what's your favorite wind to fish, I guess, as far as east, west, and all that. And we love when the boats come by for topwater fishing in the summertime. So, use it to your advantage at times.
So I'll touch on what you just said. So when boats go by, it's a great thing. What I was speaking on is when boat goes directly over
the brush pile.
So
Yeah.
So you pull up to your point or your hump, you got them lined up on your cast, and that boat runs directly over them. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you have boats in the surrounding area creating waves and stuff, that's 100% a positive, just because it turns the water up.
Kind of like wind at that point.
And gets those herring up and kind of kickstarts everything. But as far as boats going over it, that's a no for me, but boats around it, definitely. And I don't per se have a favorite direction of wind. It's just I really like that 10 to 15 if I can get it, where it's not too unmanageable where I can't cast, but I'm also still getting able to make my baits.
You want that chop.
Yeah.
You want that chop on the water.
You don't get to look at it as well. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Now, you might have mentioned it. This is just, it popped in my head.
Yep.
I don't know if we covered it, but in your Topwater, say you got 10 to 15 with a good chop.
Yep.
You start off with more of the stick bait first, then go to the chug baits, right? Is that what you said, or how do you determine?
So the chugging style baits, that's going to be when if it slicks off or gets calm.
That's when you go on them. Because it creates the commotion.
Right, and when you already have all that commotion, it's really hard to get the bait to work properly.
That's right.
And it's just it's kind of a difficult thing when you do have those conditions.
Yeah, you're right. But I got you. Man, this kid's throwing out some great information for you guys. I hope you guys are paying attention. Gone fishing. Do you factor in barometric pressure in determining what patterns you'll use on a given day?
Definitely. The barometric pressure thing isn't something I get super in tune with, but I've seen it make a difference in like what level of baits I'm gonna throw and stuff like that.
Somebody said in the shop the other day, if we got low barometric pressure, the fish are gonna chew.
Mm-hmm.
If it's high, they're not gonna bite as well.
Yeah.
You buy into that?
I definitely think it.
Or a dropping, right. But when it gets
this time of year, especially if there's a front coming in and you're fishing during it or like right after it happens, it can be phenomenal. And then some days you'll go out after that and be glass calm and it'd be extremely tough. So I definitely see it play into what we do, but definitely I think more so like clouds and wind and all that, or kind of those windows that open up throughout the day that are a little bit.
I got you.
Important.
So Tim.
Yes.
I want to make you're doing a fine job.
I'm still awake back here.
You're doing a fine job. But I want to bring up that to you because Rocky Mountain fished it quite a few times. And I've noticed that after a front came through, if it was bluebird skies and no wind, that lake, at least in my experience, shut down.
Sometimes, yeah.
But it was always in a bluebird, just, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Just, even in the wintertime, bluebird skies, fish didn't bite over there.
Yeah, they just go down and get lethargic on rocks for whatever reason. You can see them.
Yeah,
they won't do anything.
I was just wondering because I'm not very good at science, with all that pressure. Do you follow all that, Kevin?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on like when's the best time barometrically to go bass fishing? If you had to
when
pick,
it's falling.
When it's falling.
Yeah.
When it's falling.
When it's high, it's tough. He's right. It's just real tough. And you'll see some suspended fish, and it doesn't matter what you throw, you can't get them to hit anything, and they wouldn't even follow it.
Right. On high.
On high.
When it's high. Okay, I was just curious.
And our mindset kills us too.
Well, yeah.
The amateurs, not the guys. But
not the guide. Yes, this is us. Absolutely. KJ says, Chestatee River, find brim beds, so a black frog. Now, that was my next question. Mm-hmm. I had it on the tip of my tongue, and I'm glad he did that. Most people on the horny toad throw white. Mm-hmm. Most people on buzz baits like to throw a white or something like that. But I know a lot of guys that love black color. When Rob Jordan was on here, he said this. I'll throw a black frog. And if that don't work, I'll throw a black frog. So on your horny toad, what color are you throwing? Are you throwing the white or?
So if it's a shad spawn, it's going to be white.
Yep.
Any other time of year, it's going to be a dark green pumpkin or
so you
black.
okay. So yeah.
But if it's a shad spawn deal, it's white 100%.
It's white 100%.
But other than that, where I'm just kind of target oriented fish, it's going to be black.
Is that your number one bait on shad spawn?
Buzz bait
on a frog, yeah.
Not here, but when I travel, definitely a swim jig is
swim jig.
Swim jig's the deal.
Swim jig does not get talked about on Lake Lanier.
It works out here.
It does work. I know that Jesse Millsaps and Logan Millsaps used to catch some good ones, and the color was white with orange in it. On Lanier, that was but that everybody thinks of that as a muddy water color. But Logan, I remember Logan saying, don't discount that on Lake Lanier. Yeah. So just there's your little tip. Elba fanning. Now, I think we talked about this, but let's just go over it again. Do you use a weighted hook on your horny toad?
Yeah, so I typically do not use the weighted hook. I just run it on straight braid and just try to get that bait really perfect on the hook to run straight. So
Yeah. You don't have a problem with it turning upside down?
typically not. I throw a pretty heavy gauge hook, not something ridiculous, but
Right.
it has enough weight to keep that bait keeled.
Yeah. So you got some weight. In
Right.
your hook.
It's not just like a little skimpy,
right.
like normal worm
Thin
hook or
wire,
something.
thin wire Gamagotchi up
Yeah.
there. But that
Not
is
with braid.
No.
but that is something on a horny toad. If you're going weightless and your hook is too light, those things have a tendency to roll.
Yeah, it may come back the other way.
It may come back the other way. Of course, I don't know if the fish care, but I mean, it does do that. Do you fish a wake bait any this time of year?
The wake bait kind of dissipates this time of year for me. Really, that late April, May, it's a staple. But as far as right now, it's not one that I'm going to be throwing every day.
Good nighttime bait.
A wake bait is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said earlier before the show you don't like fishing at night. You don't fish very much at night, do you?
I've started to learn like through these tournaments, and it's really kind of intriguing to me because it's a whole different process.
100%.
And I mean, I get out there, the sun goes down, and I'm like, all right, now I'm just a complete amateur, and all these other guys have been doing it for years. I'm just trying to pick up little things. I'm like, man, this is night blade. Like, what are we talking about here? And just like trying to figure out how those fish set up, and it's been kind of a little fun puzzle the past couple of weeks.
It's different.
Yeah,
it's different. Now, have you bought into the nighttime spinnerbait bite?
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. We've done some other stuff and caught a few, but I definitely haven't like unlocked anything crazy.
I'm the guy that I would rather at night throw the big crankbait than I would a spinnerbait. Just because I feel like I can dig it down in the bottom a little bit.
You can do a big 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce spinnerbait.
You can.
Just dragging it.
You can.
The thing about Lanier though versus out of tuna, there's so many docks on Lanier. It's still pretty bright just from the lights from the docks.
Yeah.
But on tuna, it's dark.
Yeah, it's pitch black dark out there.
Is it like Carter's Lake dark in places?
Oh yeah,
it's dark.
See, maybe it's our brains, but just physically being able to see your line in the water and see it land and all that. I don't know how many times at night and I hear a splash over here, and it's like I start reeling, hell, my line's over here. I didn't know where the hell I was going.
You don't know how many times you throw it out there and you don't hear nothing.
Oh,
because it's in the trees.
Yeah, no, with me that happens. That happens in the daytime. It does. SF, appreciate you joining us tonight. Brooks, what's your go-to subsurface bait this time of year, especially with no wind around brush? And after he answers this question, we're going to do our question of the night. Kevin's off the back of the boat question of the night. So you go ahead and get ready there.
I'm ready.
All right.
Yeah, no wind. Drop shot's really good. Underspin's another really good one. Kind of sinking some other stuff around, but it's kind of day to day. Some days they'll eat a worm in a jig. Other days they want kind of a Demiki or shad style profile. So just kind of play around with a few of those and really understand what those fish are doing.
Yeah. Well, you just got to use your senses, even all the time. Let's see. Okay, so Clint Bartlett, we're going to start off with Clint's question when we get back. All right, so we'll make sure we get him. All right, guys. So now it's time for Kevin's off the back of the boat question of the week, and the prize this week will be the Highland Series, each one of the Highland Series True Grit jigs. If you don't win, you can go to our website that I'm building out right now. They're already available on there, and I make every one of them myself. So they're definitely done right. I at least can say that. But great colors that work perfectly on any of these North Georgia lakes. Are you ready?
I have one thing I want to say first. Good friend of mine.
I love you too.
Yeah, I know. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Good friend of mine just sent me a text just to remind me to ask or say on the podcast to remember to take a kid fishing. He's got his grandkids, Todd Collins, over on Sinclair this week.
Yeah.
And he just thought it'd be a great idea for us to just mention that. You sometimes do that at the end of the show.
Yeah.
To remind us to take a kid fishing. But this is a great time during the summer months to take our kids out.
Absolutely.
Kid out.
And listen, when you do that, it doesn't have to be some, on an $80,000 bass boat or anything. You'd be amazed at what a tube of crickets and a Zebco 33 will do.
Just fishing off a dock or
off
the
a
bank.
dock, catching 2, 3, 4, 5 inch brim will do to a kid to get them involved in fishing, which is a hell of a lot better than some of the alternatives. You've been fishing a long time. We talked about that. That's how it is.
That's exactly how I started.
Yeah.
I was on the side of the road fishing a bridge, and some guy pulled over. He's like, "Hey, come fish my 100-acre lake." And from there, I went from sitting there night crawler cricket, just catching fish. Then my dad got me a guide trip at Callaway Gardens, and he started mentoring me, and it's just snowball effect from there.
That's how it is.
It's just that, like you said, those couple instances,
yeah,
just get ingrained in their heads. That's
all
it takes.
And see, he turned out all right. He turned out all right.
Absolutely.
He's turned out. He lets us old farts hang around him. But no, again, that's 100%. I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
Good public service announcement. And also, it's the 4th of July. You guys remember why we celebrate that.
Right.
All right. So, question of the week. How many answers?
Just one answer.
Just one answer tonight. Okay.
I bet Clint just fell out somewhere. You okay, buddy?
Yeah, but that kind of scares me too with just one answer.
It should.
All right, he's going to read the question 2 times.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go change out my dip while you're doing this, and we'll get back to the fishing talk. All right. So it's all yours.
Okay. According to Bassmaster Magazine, how many top 100 lakes that were selected in 2022 didn't make the 2024 top 100? I'll repeat it. According to Bassmaster Magazine, how many top 100 lakes that were selected in 2022 did not make the 2024 top 100?
And that's according to Bassmaster Magazine.
I got it right here.
And I can tell you what, I'd like to talk to the guy that makes that list.
I know you.
That guy makes me mad every single year. I don't know who he is, but I think he just sits there. Don't you agree, Tim? He just gets.
Well, Lake Altoona is the most beautiful lake in North Georgia.
Well,
Isn't that what they put up? So I mean,
yeah, that's the Yankees up in. Yeah.
Answers are not starting to roll. They are starting to roll in, but do not say yes or no to any of them until we hit the right answer, because you're giving it away for everybody else.
Hell, I don't even know the answer. So
I do.
That's you and Tim. By the way, the website looks good. Was checking it out this week. Thanks, Tony. I got a lot of stuff to add to it, and we're getting there. But it's going to have some good stuff on it for sure when we get there. So y'all going to have to, I guess me and you going to have to talk for a second, because I
You
can't
guys
get back
are
to
just guessing.
Yeah, you guys are guessing.
yeah, they're just throwing numbers out, I think.
And we'll discuss this as soon as.
You're lucky I didn't ask for all the names of the lakes.
Yeah, good Lord, we'll be here all night.
He's going a little easy on you guys since it's a Wednesday, and he kind of threw you off kilter.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so this is like his nice Wednesday question right there. So you guys keep looking, keep watching, and I'm going to keep talking to Brooks, because I got another question about the flukes. All right, so my question on fluke fishing, because we're talking right now, so far the conversation has been subsurface.
Mm-hmm.
When do we go down with them? A lot of guys use a fluke down on brush piles and stuff. They fish it deeper. What dictates in your mind that, hey, I need to take the fluke or a similar style bait down?
Yeah, simply just the positioning of them on the live scope now. So back in the day, we'd have to throw over a pile and just kind of guess where those fish were set up. And sometimes we'd catch them, sometimes we wouldn't. But now the benefit is we can kind of see, all right, these fish are at 15 feet, 5 foot in front of the brush, or they're 10 feet up, or they're actually in the brush and on the bottom.
Right.
So once I kind of dictate that, that's going to completely change where my bait selection is going to go from there.
So you'll still go up to the brush pile. You
Mhm.
see fish, you'll still throw your Topwater or Subsurface to start with.
Sometimes.
Okay. So like, let's say you start that. If the fish are coming up and moving, or at least
Right.
moving up, you're going to stick with that.
Right. That's what I'm gonna try to almost force that in a lot of areas, just to try to get some of the bigger fish to make that mistake first,
Yeah.
if you will. But if I'm running multiple brush piles time after time, and I'm just like, hey, these fish are not set up high, then I'm gonna start out with some of those deeper techniques that we touched on, maybe getting a fluke down there, throwing a drop shot, a jig, or something,
Right.
underspin, something of that nature, to kind of really focus on those fish that are deeper.
When you say set up high,
Mhm.
let's say we got a brush pile in 30 foot of water.
Okay.
What is setting up high? Is that 5 foot above the brush? Is that 15 foot above the brush? What is setting up high?
Setting up high, it varies a lot on time of day and conditions, like we talked about. But my true definition of that is pretty much 10 to 15 foot and higher. So if the brush is in 30, and those fish are going to be suspended in that 15-foot range over it.
yeah.
So, but you can still catch them when they are suspended right above it, but you will have to kind of go subsurface on
Okay,
those.
but I just want to know what your definition
so
was.
if I'm going to pull up to a pile in an ideal world, they're going to be 5 to 8 feet under the surface, or even sometimes closer late in the evenings when they're pulling water, things like that.
Right.
But then I'm going to throw the fluke or the Topwater and get those fish to come up. But that's, like we talked about, going to be harder and harder to get to do. So
I got you. They still ain't got that question
Nope.
yet. Good Lord, guys. Don't y'all get the Bassmaster magazine?
Tim?
I even get that thing. You get it, Tim?
It took
Kevin's
me
he's sitting there.
about
He's
45
watching.
minutes to figure it out myself.
So you had to do some counting and stuff to figure it out.
I certainly did.
No, well, there you go, guys. So, hey, listen, these jigs are worth it. So you guys keep trying. A couple of weeks ago, been about 3 weeks ago, me and my cousin went out up Keith Bridge, got out on a hump fishing, saw some fish, kind of like what you were saying. They really were everywhere. It was one of those situations, and some of them could have been stripers, whatever. We tried the Topwater, tried all that, couldn't get them. We would throw a jig or something down in there. We would watch them follow it down and nose up on it, but never take it, never commit to it. Let's say you're throwing a jig.
Go.
They follow it down. They're not they're nosing up. They're not taking it. What's a bait that you might switch to trigger that bite? Or would you do something different with the jig?
Right. So pretty much across the board when I am spotted bass fishing, I don't care what I'm throwing. I'm trying to get those fish to react to that bait.
Yeah.
And a benefit of the warmer water is you can get a lot more aggressive with your actions and stuff. So if you are throwing jig, you can stroke it a little bit, give it some really hard thumps, and just kind of do some off the wall stuff to trigger those fish. Similar to the Fluke, you can give it some crazy twitches, and it's almost like a concept that you can take across the board. And if it is a worm, maybe you sit there and shake it like super hard and just do some different stuff, because when you do have that higher water temperature, you're able to kind of manipulate those baits in a different way compared so as in the winter where you're just trying to like kind of sluggishly move it.
Right.
Everything's all natural and cool. But this time of year, I almost want to do like a stop and start where it's like a cat and mouse deal where those fish get interested, they see it for a second, then I'm taking it away or something like that.
So you actually get you get more aggressive.
I do, and that's across the board on a lot of stuff.
Interesting, because I would have thought. Not that I would have thought. I know a lot of guys tend to slow down. They think they have to slow down a little bit when it gets really hot.
Yeah, so whatever I'm throwing, I'm trying to make that fish react to it and not so just kind of swim down there and eat it. Like I want it to be like a almost instinctual, just like lash out and bite. So
see, that might have been what we were doing wrong, because I can remember throwing when we would throw out there. My cousin fished a jig more than I did. Slow. We really didn't do none of that popping and
yeah. And I'm
trying
not
to
saying
trigger.
every day you go out there and just.
But it could have worked.
But it's something just vary everything you do, and then kind of gauge if hey, I stroked it one time or I threw it behind the pile, burned it up, and let it fall real quick. I got immediately bit. There's something behind that. So
has that come more from the forward facing sonar?
Absolutely.
Because before you would know whether that fish was down there looking at it or not.
So it's really opened a Pandora's box for me in the sense that I work all these baits completely different. And like since the forward facing has come out, I've just understood things like, so if I move my rod, that bait's actually moving 6 or 7 feet.
Yes, nobody knows that.
Where in the winter, I'm like, oh, I'm dragging and shaking it, but I'm pulling that bait 4 or 5 feet off the bottom. I'm like, this, no wonder things aren't going right. But yeah, I've kind of used it to my advantage and just done some off the wall things to get these fish to react. And it's actually been something that's patternable.
So the fish are telling you what they want, basically.
Right. They? So it's pretty powerful, and it's forward facing gets a lot of mixed emotions and everything, but it's probably the best learning tool we've ever had in fishing.
Oh, 100%. So. Did you guys, okay, I was going to ask if you guys had given up on the question.
No, I haven't given up.
Not you, but David finally put out an answer. So you guys keep trying right there.
Those are some really good jigs.
The jigs are great. Now, but that's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of people, especially before forward facing sonar, feel like they don't realize how even a little bit of rod movement
it's crazy.
Pulls that thing a lot more, especially when you're fishing a little more vertical. Now, if you're fishing shallow and you pull it 3 inches, well, it might move it. But if you're down 30 feet,
it's a lot.
It moves a lot. Nobody thinks, well, they do now, but a lot of people didn't think about how much that worm or jig is actually getting pulled up off the bottom and moving down there, keeping that bottom contact.
If they don't get the answer by the show's end, do I get the jigs?
I can make you jigs anyway. So yeah, you know better than that. Fishing with Farmer. What is your trailer? And Jonathan, love you. Appreciate you joining us tonight, buddy. What is your trailer selection when you're stroking or hopping a jig?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that's really important. It's going to be a Yamamoto, either 5 or a 4-inch double tail grub. And that's a trailer that's going to work in 40-degree water and 80-degree water. That soft, consistent plastic is going to have that action that you're looking for. And when you do pull it off the bottom, you have just those consistent tails that go down, they flutter, and they almost stop. And every time you pull it, they're going to do the same thing, no matter how fast or slow you're moving that jig.
Yeah. And another thing, Ken, would you go get me a pack of those Zoom, like the Fat Albert twin tails? I want to show everybody what Jonathan. There is a right way and a wrong way, and
Mhm.
we have a video out there. But in case you guys haven't seen it, I want to show you physically. There's a right way and a wrong way to put a double tail grub on that a lot of people don't think about. You remember that?
No, I haven't seen that, but I know how to put it on.
Well, you know, you can put it on upside down. Did you know that?
No.
I'm going to show you.
Can you put it on upside down? Yes.
You can.
Yeah.
You know why? What happens to it if you put
There's
it
a
on
reason.
upside down? There's a reason.
No, I don't know the reason.
Don't
All right,
catch any
we're going, huh?
Didn't catch the water right. when
It
falls.
doesn't, and it's more of a sight thing. Just any color will work. So,
I can tell you that I've torn it up before when I turn them down, and
Yeah.
I flip it over the other way, and I still
I
catch fish.
appreciate you doing that. Yeah, so white one might work better. It's gonna look.
You need a hook too?
No, don't need a hook. Jonathan Farmer is actually the one that showed me this. So, okay. If you see right here now how that white works really good. You see how those tails are. So when you lift it up, you see how they're together? That's upside down. Or which way is it, John? One of the ways is when you put it on in the water, it spreads out. It might be because these were in a pack. That might be right.
I was
And
always taught they should be facing down when you lean it like that.
you taught that they should be facing down.
Facing down is the way I would.
But the legs are wider, and it might be the Yamamoto's.
That's
Anyway,
all right.
Jonathan, help me out with that question. But there is, I learned it here and I use it every time. Jonathan Farmer showed, and it might just not be these zooms because this might be a terrible thing. But on the Yamamoto's, if you got it upside down, the legs point in.
Yeah,
And then if you put it the right way up, there's more of a spread.
yeah, the Yamamoto's is really easy to tell just
Yeah.
with their plastic. The Zoom, they work great as well. They're just a little bit more stiff.
Yeah, that might be it. But definitely with the
I
Yamamoto.
use the zoom.
Well, with the Yamamoto, it is. And Jonathan showed us that. Can y'all do a how to learn forward-facing sonar show sometime? Brooks, you up for how to learn forward-facing?
Yeah.
Actually, I tell you what you can do. You can book a trip with him. But because it's almost like a guy could get on here and explain it, but it's really something you got to actually see. Did you bring me some Yamamoto's? Let's see if it does it with these. Because I know it does it. What the hell did I just drop? Well, probably my can of dip. Okay. All right.
Those are much.
They're much, yeah,
Limpier,
you can
yeah.
tell they're much limpier. But if you put it on this way, let me see if I got it right. One way they turn in and one way they turn
The
out.
problem with some of them, if they're not packaged right, one tail will turn
Yeah.
one way and one turns the other.
Yeah, but there's a way. You know what I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
though. If you put it on upside down, see how they bite in, like they're kind of like stuck together. You see how they spread out that way?
There you go.
Can you see it now?
Or
All right, Farmer. Holding the bait horizontal, and one way the tails will want to collapse on each other, another way they want to spread out. And that's what I was trying to.
Just like you had it there. Just
Yeah, like that. That spreads and that turns in. That spreads, and it actually really is the way to do it. I'm just probably a terrible teacher. Yamamoto definitely does. I remember Jonathan showing that. So, and you guys still ain't got the question. I'm gonna tell you some jigs if you get it. Oh, I know what that was. That was my spit bottle. It's down there under the table somewhere. Anyway, some
Hey,
fella,
roll back over here. I'll look for it.
somebody, yes, no, it's got a cap on it.
Oh, thank God.
No, it's got I got others. I've always got a backup. But I tell you the how to learn forward facing sonar, it's interesting, but it is something that if we did a show and talked about it, yeah, you could learn the basics,
Right.
but you really got to get on a boat
It's-
to tune it in right and show all that.
It's even more so a one-on-one thing for me where we use it all day and you see the bite windows, you see how we use the baits and how they react. And it's kind of like a couple hour process where we're interpreting it, we're using it the whole time. And it's not, I mean, I can tell you my settings and my colors and everything, but it's kind of one of those things. It's a first person thing for sure.
I think that might do better if I actually put it on a jig.
Yeah.
I want people to see that. Appreciate whoever rolled my bottle back over here. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
My lovely assistant.
Shouts out to Ken Pruitt.
Yeah, Ken's back here.
Ken's back. Well,
He's
that's
just
terrible.
off camera because he was on camera.
All right,
last
so
time.
show it that way. So see, it's upside down and the legs fold in. And if I turned it that way, they fold out. So I've got
See
it.
how the bottom of the tips fold in. That's how I rig mine.
Yeah. Oh, you want that folded
I
in.
want them roll folded.
But when it falls, I didn't even do this straight. But when it falls through the water and they're turned in like that, which now this is the top. So you see how they're really tight right here at the top. And then they're supposed to spread out. So as it comes through the water, you got more of the kick going.
Mhm.
And it also helps with the fall rate. That's the way Jonathan explained it. So Anyway, that's why I'm talking to the experts and I'm not the expert. I just know that that's it. What flavors of jigs you got out there? Got a pumpernickel, got a cheat code, which used to be called Chef Special, got a GP Brown, I got a Tar Heel Crawl, an Alabama Crawl, a Code Blue, a Tuna. This is my one we named after Alatuna. Got a regular PB&J with extra purple. That's called Lanier Jam. This is a new color we're coming out with. That is the green pumpkin barbed wire with purple and chartreuse on the top. And then I got, of course, the Lanier Smoke. And this one it's a GP Blue Pepper. So, and there's also one or two other colors out there.
Which one's the tuna one?
It's just a green pumpkin.
No, there's 11 that you're giving away.
It's a green pumpkin with kind of a green pumpkin chartreuse highlights.
Chartreuse, yeah.
Yep. I don't know who's crying. Somebody put a crying thing up there at the top. So I don't know who we made sad, but we made somebody sad.
Nobody's got it yet.
Nobody's got it yet. So what?
They're guessing. That's why they can't get it.
Okay, DA.
That's Dylan again.
Yeah, interesting question. What's your favorite kind of beer after a long day on the water?
I'm just going to bed.
Do you drink beer?
Not much.
Your dad don't. Your dad might be watching me, so but you can admit it to me.
No.
I will tell you this: if you go, listen, if you're going into an establishment and they're ice cold and it's on draft, you can't go wrong with an ice cold Pabst Blue Ribbon. Got to be ice
Heck
cold.
yeah, PBR.
PBR, but it's got to be like 33 degrees.
Cold.
I thought you were going to say Falstaff or something.
No, PBR, babe. Now, if it's just in a cooler, I don't care as long as it's cold. So my question is that with the twin tail, do you get more yum?
I knew I could count
fell
on you,
right into
Vern.
that one.
Oh my God.
Do you get more yum?
I'm not even going to put that one on screen.
That is what will make them bite.
Oh, JP. Spread.
Best question tonight, JP.
Yeah.
He helped me fix my boat trailer today, and then I came straight here. He was coming with me, but he's real nasty. So
Yeah, I got that. I've written that Clint Bartlett. I've written out all the divisions and trying to compare them, but 200 Lakes is aggressive to write down.
we got faith in you, Clint. Come
Clint
on,
is
buddy.
trying to figure that out right there. So, oh no, farmer. I'm missing one. Actually, a farmer special, and I do have them over there. So that is one that he did. You throw jigs a lot?
I do. Yeah. It's a really good bait this time of year.
Okay, so summertime jig fishing.
Mhm.
I mean, what dictates whether you're going to use one or not?
Kind of what we touched on earlier. If they are really tight to the bottom and the kind of base of that brush pile, it's an awesome bait to kind of get down there and make them react with it.
Yeah. What kind of head do you like throwing?
Definitely the Arky style for the
You
brush.
like the Arky?
Yeah. If I'm fishing rock or open water, it's going to be a football style head. But definitely brush. It's got to be that Arky head.
You do any skipping the docks with them?
I do. Yeah. Definitely when I travel a lot.
When
I
you
do
travel?
that. Mm-hmm.
So, like, give me an example of a lake here recently you've been on outside of Lanier where you've tossed a jig around.
Oconee and Sinclair, really good. You can,
Dock Lakes.
yeah, the walkways, the jet ski lifts, they have a lot within a dock that you can catch one with a jig. So it's not just, hey, I skipped it 20 feet under that. It's like, all right, are they on this post? And then you can kind of figure out where they're holding to.
Gotcha. I know it was in the comments earlier. Lipsticker Kevin said he'd been down there on Oconee or something recently like that. And I know when a lot of guys come in here and they talk about they got a tournament on Oconee, jig is always in play on those lakes.
And buzzbait.
Huh?
Jig and buzz.
Jig and a
crankbait,
buzzbait
too.
and a crankbait.
Yep.
Now, that's interesting. Now, let me ask you something. Any summertime cranking? Do you really do any crankbait fishing during
Out
the summer?
here?
Yeah, at Lanier. We're back, or North Georgia.
Not really too much, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I know.
I used to do it a little bit back before forward facing, but there are some applications with it where you're not necessarily hitting the bottom, but just kind of burning it through schools of
Right.
them. But it's not a staple in my opinion out here. But in the TVA lakes and all that, definitely cranking something you need to incorporate.
I got you. David Weaver. Any other Kiefer episodes? Well, it was almost one before the show. We took care of that.
If we only had smell-o-vision.
That's right. Richie, rock and roll. We're back on the PBR. It didn't win a blue ribbon for nothing. That's right. There were probably only two other contestants, and one was goat urine. So there you go. Listen, you just can't go wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. Any of the fine meads and beers from Etowah, beer, mead, and wine, they all are great. I love them all, but I don't care. There's something about it. Ice, and I mean ice cold PBR in a frosty mug. So is that your go-to?
Probably
David,
not
listen,
PBR.
you don't really?
I don't even know if I have one.
Huh? You ain't never had a PBR?
Nah, I probably haven't. Is that the one with the? I mean, it's got the ribbon on
It's got the ribbon
It's a
on
red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
It
It-
almost won a ribbon one time.
It did. It is like, listen, Land Shark's good. It's white trash beer, but I'm white trash.
Nah, Land Sharks are pretty good.
Land Sharks are very good, and they're good cold too. They're good for yard work.
Any winners yet on this?
No, we've gone 15 minutes.
Are
and
we
no
even
winner.
close to a winner?
Probably not watching the show anymore.
No, that's what I mean.
They give up.
Has anybody even come close?
Yes.
How many digits were they off?
I'm not going to tell you.
Good Lord.
Such a hard ass.
Can you tell me? Can we give like one little hint?
No.
Damn, Dad.
Who's
all right.
running this question? of the
Okay,
week?
it's yours. Can't trust someone who doesn't like PBR. Colin Steele. That's right. So you need to try it. You need to try it.
I got him.
We got vapor lock.
Oh, we were vapor locked.
I missed it. What vapor locked him?
Ken bust out laughing back here.
Oh,
And then I look in between the monitors and Kevin stared at me and he lost it.
he lost it.
He seems to have regained his composure.
No
I'm-
hints.
I'm
Dan.
good.
You
No
good?
hints. I'm
Okay.
still
He's
writing.
breathing.
Okay, so Clint Bartlett says no hints because he's still writing all of it out. So, my Lord.
Clint, I had to do the same thing, but
Hey, listen, though, how many lakes are on the list? 100, right? And so, you know, so listen, you had 100.
questions get tougher.
So you had 100 lakes on the list,
Yeah.
and you went back for how many years back?
2 years, 2022.
So they got to compare 100 from 2022 to 100 to today.
That's correct.
And we're asking which ones are not on the list today
That
from
were on it in 2022.
2022.
This
Woo.
might need a spreadsheet.
Well, he's had
I
2
think that's
weeks.
what Clint's doing right now. He's
Clint
probably got a
probably is.
whiteboard, 3-4 scratch notes.
Now,
Mm.
did I write them all down or what?
Wow.
Good Lord. Can I just show that real quick? This is how serious Kevin takes this question of the week. Well, I'm not going to get the right angle because of light.
Go ahead. And,
1 page, 2 page. There's 4 or 5 pages worth of
Yeah,
lakes.
Right
and all
there's
that.
your answers. Did y'all see that?
Who got the answer?
No, I'm talking about you were showing them.
Oh,
All they had to
okay.
do was look real quick and go, oh, well, those guys. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't. That's like trying to reading Tim Hancock's logs. I can't chicken scratch that only he understands.
Ooh.
What is the one bait in the summertime that you see people throwing and you just you don't shake your head out, but you're like, there's no way I would throw that bait in the summer? Or a technique that maybe you wouldn't waste your time doing this time of year?
Probably throwing a worm.
Really? Like a shaky head?
Now, see, it's kind of a catch-22 because
Yeah.
it definitely catches a lot of fish and catches big ones in the right location.
Right.
But it is not the bait that I really like to partake in. That's
Okay.
just with my style of fishing. It's not something.
Is that because you're more of a running gunner?
right?
Too
And-
slow?
And I kind like I really want. It's not. It's too slow. It's kind of I'm looking for something that can generate like the biggest fish out of school consistently.
Yeah.
And the drop shot can catch some giants. The shake it can catch some giants. It doesn't really fit in the wheelhouse of what I try to do out here in the summer.
So that one. Okay, so that makes sense. Kitech, Flying Hawaiian says the Kitech. Kitech catches a lot of fish.
Oh, Kite's amazing.
Now, if you use one of those, are you a Kitech guy as far as brand, or do you have another type of paddle tail you like to use?
When
Thank you, sir.
I'm throwing that, it's 90% of the time going to be Kite,
Kitech.
but it's going to be definitely in the colder months for me.
Farmer says the adrenaline crawls that Fish North Georgia has picked up are great jig trailers for this time of year. Okay, there you go. You know, I see a lot of guys put some really massive.
We got a winner.
We got a winner. Who's the winner?
Palms 353.
Palms 353. You are the winner. The answer is 23. So 23 lakes that made the top 100 in 2022 did not make it in 2024.
Correct.
Were any of those in Georgia?
Oh,
Yeah, I've stumped you there.
no, you didn't stump me. It take me a minute. But
Take
the
it.
question,
I'm just curious.
when you brought up earlier before we did the question, Okeechobee and the Harris Chain of Lakes did not make the top 100 in 2024.
And yet Bassmaster went there.
Yes.
Now, would you agree with that Lake Okeechobee is not one of the 100 best lakes or Harris Chain. Have you fished those?
So I fished Harris Chain 4 times now. I've been down to Toho and Kissimmee Chain twice. I've not been to Okeechobee, but it's kind of sad what's happening to a lot of those places in the grass situation. Just from my years of fishing the Harris Chain, I've seen it in 2020 be a phenomenal fishery across every lake, and now with the spraying and just some other stuff, it's kind of, I don't want to say detrimental, but it's not heading the right direction on the chain, in my opinion. And then Okeechobee, it's just, I stayed kind of in the loop of that, and the local community and everyone, they're not happy with the vegetation issue and just some of the stuff that's been there for so many years that's just not available now. So
Gotcha.
Hurricanes tear that lake.
Yeah.
down. There's one Georgia lake, Clarks Hill Reservoir, didn't make it.
Didn't make it, so it was on there. Now, where did they have? Now, me and Ryan raised Cane last year when they had Lake Lanier as the 5th best lake in the state of Georgia.
No, it was what, 15th?
This year it's like 15th. It was low. It was, no, I think it was almost in the 20s last year, wasn't it? See where the rank on Lake Lanier was last year compared to this year. Because
I think it was 15th this year, maybe.
of all of them, or 15th in the South?
I think all of them.
Lake Lanier's ranked number 10 in the Southeast.
In the Southeast. Last year, it was ranked as the 5th best lake just in the state of Georgia. Had Hartwell, Oconee, or similar.
Really?
Yeah, and we was like, the way we believe this guy gets his information is he gets a lot of people reporting springtime tournament weights.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Lake Lanier has those weights
You're right.
all year long, whereas these other lakes fall off. Look at what happened on Hartwell. You know, when the NPFL went there and all, I mean, the weights were
It's
down.
the number 1 lake in Georgia.
It's the number 1 lake
This
in
year.
Georgia. You know why? Because me and Ryan raised hell about it last year, and somebody told that guy at Bassmaster.
That's what I heard.
That's what I heard. That is the exact reason why. But
We can keep it at number 5.
I understand. I understand why you're saying that. But it's still, when people make these lists, you have to sit back for a second and look and see how they make them. You know, right now, if you had to pick one lake in the state of Georgia to fish, what would it be?
That's Lanier, 100%.
100%.
Just this year-round consistency, like you talked about. I mean, 20 pounds is par year-round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care if it's August. I mean, it drops a little bit in those times of the year, but you can still catch 20 pounds every month out of the year out here, 100%.
100%. And you go to these other lakes, and yeah, every lake really shines in the spring, when, especially a largemouth lake. You go down South Georgia when those weights are up and around the spawn, and in the early spring, pre-spawn and spawn. Once that kicks, look at the weights all through Georgia consistently, and it's not even close on your bigger tournaments. Now, I'm sure there's pot tournaments and all that. Neil Scoggins says Lanier, then Clarks Hill. But according to Bassmaster Magazine, Clarks Hill is not even one of the top lakes in the state of Georgia. So you got to take them with a grain of salt, I believe. You agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know. So anyway, back to you and the summertime fishing. Guys, make sure we got about 30 more minutes to go in this episode.
Ooh, big Al.
Cheryl Ladd, Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, baby.
I got to preface this, Big Al. I got to preface this by saying something, because my wife made a comment to me. She goes, "This doesn't belong on a fishing show." And I said, "Yes, it
So you
does."
can quit watching.
Yeah, I said, "Here's why." Because my target audience is males 25 to 55 years old, with some exceptions on either side of the thing. And if we ain't talking about fishing, what are we talking about?
Beer,
And then what? Starts with a B.
bait.
Then starts with another B. You know what I'm trying to say. Cheryl Ladd is an excellent choice. In fact, all of Charlie's Angels.
Babes.
But I love my wife.
Babes, there you go.
I love my wife, and I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I love her boobs better than anybody's. I have to put that out there. So
That is
she'll
a
see-
smart man right there.
No, I do. I have to say it like that.
Okay.
I'd say it like that because I want to make sure, as a public service announcement to my wife, she knows I'm latched to those.
Well, when you say it like that, it's like you're comparing it to everybody else's. And
But that's not what I'm doing.
That's what you said.
You're not helping me, because if she's watching this, she's going to say, "See, I told you."
That's what
My wife is very patient. She puts up with me. And
kudos to her. I can tell.
absolutely. But now that I've said that, Cheryl Ladd, yeah, man. And let's be honest, I didn't realize the quality of the one you ranked 7th or 8th from the fall guy.
Oh,
I think you missed out on that one because we've seen several pictures on the page that you said you like more meat or more meat with your potatoes.
Yeah.
There's plenty of meat.
I don't know. I'd have to look at that again.
Yeah, we need to recut it. What about you? Do you even know who Cheryl Ladd is?
I don't know. Couldn't even tell you.
You need to go check her out right there.
He didn't watch TV. He fishes and goes to bed.
But he wasn't even born. So every week, Big Al gives us a hot lady from the 80s, early 90s
Gotcha.
that we all back in the day, because we didn't have phones like you kids do and all that to keep all our secret stuff on. We had to put posters up on our walls of scantily clad women. He goes, he will after tonight. Go check out Cheryl Ladd. All right. DA, if you're still watching, make sure Brooks over here knows who Cheryl Ladd is. She is one in a million, Big Al, my wife. That's right. Boy, I'm going to tell you, this better work for me. All right. So David Weaver wants to know, have you ever fished the Spottail shiner on Lanier, bass candy?
So
You don't live bait
No,
fish.
I don't. I've done it a few times with herrings on some trips when I was like really younger before I even really started the guiding. But I haven't gone out there and tried to do it in the last, I couldn't tell you how many years.
Robert, I'm not even going to read that comment down on the bottom. Hey, but go up if you don't mind, Tim. Yeah, small and petite,
God,
easier to toss around.
Good one, Rob.
Yeah, that's a good one. Going up because Rob actually had a comment about Okeechobee because he is from down there. It's up a little ways. Spraying has demolished that lake.
Definitely.
So that was one of the comments. And he's from down in that area too. So it's, they make a lot of decisions environmentally on a lot of lakes that, for whatever reason, we as anglers are like, because I think if I remember, Will Harkins was talking about the situation on Chatuge about the grass and stuff up there. And then remember we talked about it on the show, possibly spraying that lake. What's your thoughts on a lake? Like if, let's say you got let's say Lanier gets grass X or something. Now the fishermen are going to love it to start off with, but then you got the pleasure boaters and all that. Where's the fine line and all that?
I don't really know if there's a fine line where everyone can be happy in the sense of like, oh, I can drive my boat around and not get my motor clogged in hydrilla, or all right, now all the hydrilla I want to fish is brown and dead, and there's no oxygen, no fish, and they're all on a couple hard spots in the lake.
Well, it's only going to grow so deep anyway.
Right. And the thing with like Okeechobee per se is they've sprayed so much of this grass, and it's a lot of that native grass that's been there for so many years, and it's really condensed the fishing area into like a couple main zones, like we saw the Bassmaster Open that Scott Martin won. The amount of boats in that area was absolutely unreal, just because that's almost the most or only inhabitable area where the most of the other lake is just not suitable. So that's another big thing that it really impacts for sure.
Okay, I got you. Big Al, that will be brought up on stage next week at Pickwick right there. And I guess that's
for Rob.
So if Rob comes in and he weighs in a small bag of fish, let's definitely bring it up. But also say that Fish North Georgia, we like big girls. We're pro big girl here at Fish North Georgia. David Weaver, we bring kids out, catch the shiners with a cast net at boat ramps and have a blast drop shotting them. The kids love it. And I will say this again, awesome. that goes back to what you said earlier, live bait fishing as a child. I mean, that's the easiest way to get them hooked. Cricket, shiner, 100%. We all grew up doing that.
Yeah.
I tell you, the best fishing I've ever done, bass fishing. That's right, Big Al. Fat bottom girls make the world go round. Is I used to get a tube of crickets. I would go catch my brim, and then I would put the brim on the hook. And y'all don't know how many monster bass I caught back then, but that, of course, farm pond fishing. And then once you get the kid going, then you can graduate them into the techniques. Let me ask you this, because you're a teacher now. You're a guide. Part of being a guide's a teacher. You get a kid on board. What's the easiest technique to get a child started fishing on a lake like Lake Lanier out of a bass boat artificially?
Artificial,
yeah,
definitely. I would say drop shot.
Drop shot.
A drop shot.
Something he or she can watch on the screen. You can really get in tune with. All right, I'm shaking it. You can feel the weight when one gets it, and it's a really forgiving bait where you, even if stuff's going, like, you're not necessarily doing anything wrong. So I'd say a fluke and a drop shot.
Fluke and a drop shot. What about you?
I would say a drop shot for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have.
They hook themselves.
Well, I would have guessed something like a Kitech where they just throw it and reel.
If they can cast pretty well, a fluke, and just tell them throw it and reel it, because you can catch a lot doing absolutely nothing with it.
Okay, that makes sense. So tomorrow's the 4th of July. We've got another 2 months of hot weather, I would say. Might not be as hot as it has been because you and I were discussing before the show. This is one of the hotter Junes
Definitely.
that we've had in recent memory. Doesn't mean we believe in climate change or anything like that, but it's just been hot. Going forward the rest of the summer, I mean, what are the patterns that you see are going to come into play more than anything?
So definitely the humps on the offshore fishing is going to be at its peak. You're going to see a lot more of some of those deeper baits we talked about play. And really the biggest piece of advice I could give anyone is to fish kind of some of that brush adjacent to that deep water in those breaks.
Yeah. What makes a hump special? Like there's plenty of humps on Lanier. What are the favorites of yours?
I definitely like
not your spot, but you know what I'm saying, the contours. What are you looking for?
Yeah, so I'm looking for those hard breaks almost all around it where say the hump's in 20 or 30, I want 40, 50, 60, 70 feet running up to that hump, like almost to the edge of it, just so they have that comfort and all that bait and everything. The scenario is perfect for them. So that's what I'm looking for in an ideal hump. So definitely brush or structure, or timber, or whatever is around there. So something they can hold to and a presence of bait around, and also having that perfect mixture of contours around. So,
okay. Do you like fishing humps? You fish Allatoona a lot. Does the humps come into play on Allatoona like they do on Lanier?
I'm sure they do, but not for me.
Because you're more of a bank beater.
I bank beat.
Do you ever bank beat? Just out of curiosity.
Not here. At different times of the year, absolutely, I'll fish the bank.
But in the summertime, you're not.
In the summer, if I'm not fishing brim beds or targeting largemouth for spotted bass, I'm not fishing.
You're not. Okay.
I'll fish markers. I'll fish some brush piles, but most of the time I'm 20 feet or less.
Okay. Say you got a rocky point.
Mm.
You're coming up this time of year in the heat. Let's say you don't get on the water till midday, late afternoon.
Yeah.
Are you even messing with a rocky point?
No, I'm not. Not this far into the summer. There are some things with the Thermocline that will get those fish up there on specific days, but like consistency wise, it's not something. It's not a zone I'm really targeting in.
Okay, I appreciate it, Palms 353. I will get your jigs out in the mail probably on Friday since they're not going to be running the mail tomorrow. Let's talk about the Thermocline real quick because you brought it up a couple of times. Okay. Are you starting to see it set up?
Very, very faintly. So right now it's kind of early-ish Thermocline, and you'll be able to turn up the sensitivity on your 2D sonar or your down scan and actually see the separation of water, and that's going to be that oxygen level. And it's going to almost force those fish to be in different sections, and it definitely does change. So some things I like to do when I first launch the boat is I'll bump my sensitivity way up either on my down scan or my sonar, just kind of gauge where that predominant oxygen is, and that's where I'm gonna try to focus on for that day.
What's it showing now?
It hasn't formed like too strong, so I haven't been really paying attention to it quite yet, but I can tell that since the water's already 84, 85, it's definitely in the next week or so gonna start.
But how long would that Thermocline last until the lake actually turns over?
So
was that mid-fall maybe, or
so lake turns over? It always happens in October. It's just a matter if it happens a little bit earlier or later in October due to the cooler nights. But the Thermocline is definitely something you got to pay attention to through the end of August, even a little bit into September. But a lot of those fish will transition shallower in September, even before the weather really changes. It's just kind of one of their natural things that goes on.
Instinctual kind of.
Similar to the spawn, where those fish just kind of feel it. They can tell, and they'll kind of make some of those transitions from that deeper area.
What's the average? Luke Turner says it has started up lake on his graph. He fishes the north end a lot.
Gotcha.
So there you go. RH Fishing. Danny, tell Brooks to give me a shout. So do you know RH Fishing?
I do not. I definitely will though.
Okay, so RH, you want, if you can, you want him to like send you a message on Facebook?
On Facebook, my website, anything like that.
Yeah, send him a message so he can get in touch with you. David Weaver, come on September. No doubt that brings along football, deer season, and cooler temperatures, especially for fishing. What is the one thing about summertime fishing you hate?
Definitely the heat.
Just the heat.
I would much rather it be 32 degrees and I'm wearing 4 jackets.
100%.
Because I can control it and I can prepare and be comfortable in the winter. But when it gets hot, it's just kind of.
That's Ryan Hanks.
Oh.
Cast. My bad, Ryan. My bad, because Clint said, yeah, that's okay. So I will give him your number. Absolutely.
That makes a lot more
And
sense.
and I'm sorry I missed your call this morning, man. You can't call me before 8:00 in the morning. He called like at 7:20, and I was getting in the shower and rushing up here, and then I got started with the day, and I forgot to call you back. So Ryan, I'll give you a call tomorrow as well. Yeah, Ryan, get this man some cash braid in his hand. I'm trying to convince him it is what it is. So it's legit, dude. So appreciate you watching on. What is the average depth in your experience that the Thermocline does set up on Lanier? And I know it can vary from the sections to section, but give me an average.
But it's kind of it's a little bit different than what you think, where sometimes it's a lot higher in the water, where later, say in August or so, there's not too much oxygen past like 35 or 40 feet. So I actually will still focus on that 15 to 20. And it's one of those deals where it does change, but you don't want your bait like too far out of each zone, like whether that be the top or the bottom.
Right.
But it can almost be like to the surface at times where there's more oxygen. Even though that water is 90 degrees, those fish are still going to be up there just because they have to survive.
Because it's all about the oxygen.
Yeah,
level.
and they're almost forced to stay up there just to survive and get the proper oxygen they need, even if it is bright, sunny, no wind, and 90-degree water.
I can tell Ryan, you know, Cast is from Australia, because in his answer, no dramas, mate. He's starting to talk like an Australian right now. He's hanging out with him and all that. So
he's been down under too long.
Well, let's don't say that now, Tim.
Oh,
that could go.
That's bad. Never mind.
He hasn't been down under. It just depends on what, I guess.
How you know?
Huh? What do you mean? How do I know who he's been under?
That's what I asked.
That's what the Hawk Tua girl said.
Okay.
Way to get over one is get under another. Now my wife's gonna be on.
Yeah, now she's gonna be
What you think about that?
Which
The Hawk Tua girl.
I wish she would have some type of royalty or something every time someone used it, because she would be raking it.
Dude. Yeah.
But I think there's already a line of merchandise or something.
She got some hats.
She was doing good for herself.
She's got what?
She got a line of hats.
Maybe we can get a hat, Tim.
Well,
you know, now that you've brought that up, we probably get one of those hats before we get one of these.
I know it.
This one's rotted almost as bad as
listen.
Lip Sticker's hat that he wears.
Listen, Linda, listen right here. Hey, yes, I do what I can do now. She does have hats, and I've heard she's made some money. But you're right.
I mean, it'd be insane.
If because everybody has shared that on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
If she got like 10 cents each time somebody uses it, you know, each view. Could you imagine how much?
And she did like a podcast the other day. I didn't. I saw it randomly on
You watched
Facebook.
it. Yeah, you watched it.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
You see how he is?
No, yeah, it's not worth my time of day. But it had 17.8 million views.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, all right, that's crazy.
Insane.
Over
The
nothing.
bad thing about it is she built like you. She tall and skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she really, but anyway, make someone say, all right, Kevin, look at the camera and give me a
What?
Hawk Tua. Just say it one time.
Hawk Tua?
Spit on that thing.
No, I'm not doing that.
I'm in trouble now.
Yes, you are.
I watched it. It was only,
You're dragging me down, what you doing?
yeah, I say, we're going, hey, look, if I'm going down, somebody going with me. And since you're the dad figure here, you're going down with me. Now, Clint Bartley, you're talking about how many views you say that thing had? 17 million or something like that? He said it was only 13 minutes long.
Yeah, it's blown up.
That's crazy. But you know what that does? That shows the power of social media. That if you have a saying or something, it is worldwide. That podcast was awesome. She just talked like a normal person. I haven't seen it.
I
haven't seen it. But
She answered all the, everybody was saying that she was bartender and what are all the crap that they said, and she straightened everything out.
Tim, did you watch the video?
Maybe I should have shut up.
Tim watched that video. I did hear where she works at a spring factory, and she was on stage with some country singer that day in a cowboy hat that was way too big.
Bryan, yeah.
Was it Zach Bryan?
Mm-hmm.
So you watched it.
I saw that clip.
Yeah, I saw that clip like that. So
you can't miss it. I mean, it's in your scroll like every third flip.
You really can't. It's almost impossible to watch TikTok now just because of that. And anyway, we're not going to do any videos on that. All right, so we're getting late in the day and late in the night. I know you worked. You had a full day guide trip today, right?
Yeah.
So you were on the water, and he actually came in. He's got a little sunburn from being on the water, and he's a redhead, and I have one of those in my family, so I totally understand that. couple more questions, and then we're going to let you go. For somebody who's not an experienced angler right now that wants to go catch fish on Lake Lanier, wants to put a bass in the boat, and you can only pick one way to do it, what's the way they should do it?
Drop shot.
With a drop shot.
100%.
Any particular colors or worms?
I'd throw Morning Dawn or kind of a blue style that you see are really popular around here. LJ's got one, Blue Lily.
Yeah.
Works well. There's a lot of robo worms that work really well too.
Yeah.
So either like a pink or a blue worm with some iridescent flake in it.
Okay. Flying Hawaiian, you going to try the opens next year?
So
yeah, what's your plans going forward?
I'm kind of undecided. I'm kind of waiting on the schedule for both, but I'm definitely leaning towards the Toyota series and potentially maybe the invitationals. I'm not really sure about the NPFL, but I'm probably going to go either the Toyota or Bass. I'm just not 100% on which one yet.
Yeah, well, I always give a shout out to the NPFL just because
they're awesome. It's a phenomenal organization.
Yeah, you have to make a choice, the best decision for your future. But there's not a negative thing I can say about those guys. So Scooter says oink Brooks.
He probably meant to say pink.
Pink,
my face.
Pink oink. I just didn't know. Knowing Scooter,
you don't know.
You don't know what you're going to get out of Scooter right there.
What
so
that means.
Yeah, no telling. So I tell you what. Good luck with whatever decision you make. We're going to end it a few minutes early tonight because I know you're working. Are you working tomorrow?
No,
you're off tomorrow.
Off. Yep.
You're off tomorrow. What about you, Tim?
I'm off.
You're off.
Yeah, I may go fishing.
I'll be here at the shop.
I may go fishing with Ken back here. We've been conspiring.
Conspiring? Okay, that's what's been happening back there. I know you've been kind of quiet tonight. So I will say that Fish North Georgia will be open from 8 to 12. And if it's busy, I might keep it open a little bit longer. But if it's slow, I'm going home and eating lunch with the fam and all that. So wanted to say thank you. Short notice, but you came out. You're always super informative on these podcasts when you come in and do stuff. And we enjoy watching you. And if somebody wanted to book a guide trip with you, and I will have it in the description down below after the show, like tomorrow when we finish the upload and everything. If somebody wants to book a trip with you, how do they get in touch with you?
The easiest way is brooksandersonfishing.com, or you can message me on Brooks Anderson or Brooks Anderson Fishing on Facebook.
Yeah.
So,
and he's got a YouTube channel.
I do. Yep.
And it's Brooks Anderson Fishing.
Anderson Fishing. That's across the board on everything. Make it pretty easy. The website's scout.com, but other than that, it's just Brooks Anderson Fishing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, perfect. So, guys, again, hey, we're gonna kind of end it with that right there. It's been a great show. Brooks has been very informative. If you didn't get anything out of the night, you need to go back and rewatch it. And again, 4th of July tomorrow. If you guys are going out with fireworks and all that, or whatever you do, hey, be safe. If you're gonna have a few adult beverages, make sure you make the proper arrangements to get home safe. I don't want to see about any of you guys in the news, good or bad, whatever. I don't want to see it at all. What are you laughing at?
I'm just looking at JP Vern about that fireworks on Alatoona tomorrow night.
Fireworks on the boat tomorrow on Alatoona. Good Lord.
No,
not with JP. But anyway,
look, Farmer said was what we were talking about earlier. See how much money we can make helping people with their trailers.
Yeah.
Probably rake it in.
You could rake it in.
You could, because it'll be a show for sure.
Yeah, you can say it. So absolutely. So anyway, Brooks, thanks for coming on tonight.
Absolutely.
And you guys, hey, listen, tomorrow or the weekend, number one, if you're out on the water, be safe. Take a kid fishing. Make sure you got all the safety stuff. And hey, my wife tells me all the time, hydrate properly. And Ann McGuire, happy 4th. Happy 4th to you, hon. And you guys, hey, listen, we appreciate you. You're the best. You're the best viewers out there, and you make my job so easy. You guys had great questions tonight, and we wish you all the best and have a happy 4th of July. We will see you next week, and then the week after that, we're going to ICAST. So we'll be doing some stuff from there for you guys as well. So y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you later.